Me earlier about some of the stresses that are in your life right now with finding balance, with being in grad school and having a job and balancing your life. Tell me a little bit more about that.
I'm just stressed. There's too many things, and I feel like I'm trying to juggle it, and I keep dropping the ball on everything. And if it's not one thing, it's the other, and then I feel like I'm on track, and then all of a sudden, oh, I forgot to do this and that, and it's too much, and I don't know how to handle or cope with that. So then I'm stressed out.
You say you don't know how to handle or cope. How do you feel like when those feelings arise? Do you feel overwhelmed? Do you feel anxious?
I feel everything. I feel it rising up in me, and then I have to breathe. I'll start shaking. Like my mind starts racing with thoughts of all the things I need to do and how I don't have time to do them and what to prioritize, how to prioritize things, and so it's just a whole lot of emotion.
Now, is this something that's been a consistent pattern prior to being in grad school? Did you kind of struggle with feeling overwhelmed with life earlier on, or is this something that's relatively new?
I feel like before I did have some things that triggered stress and how to balance them, but they weren't as big as they are now. Like I didn't have as much responsibilities then as I do now. And so I think because I didn't deal with them in the past or figure out how to prioritize things in the past, now it's a lot harder to do that with so many things on my plate now. So yeah, it's been a reoccurring thing.
So you have an increased amount of responsibility in this season of your life, and you feel overwhelmed, you feel stressed, you feel you don't know how to make it all work. Right. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, it's too much. It's too much.
So have you tried implementing a daily routine? Is every day the same for you, or is every day different? When you wake up in the morning, do you feel stressed and overwhelmed, or kind of give me kind of an example of what your daily routine looks like?
Well, in the morning I wake up and I try to have a positive attitude, but then I think in the mornings I am so laid back, and then I push everything towards the afternoon, and I guess I get started at that time, and then that's when everything goes kind of crazy, and then I go to sleep late, and then the whole cycle starts over again. So I have a lot of different things to do, but in the mornings I don't really do much, and then I start in the afternoons, and I go on from there.
Have you given much thought to trying to implement a schedule? Do you already have one? Do you have a to-do list or anything of that nature?
Yeah, I have 5 calendars.
5 calendars.
Yeah, and it's still crazy. I have one in my room, I have one in my phone, I have one in my binder, I have another one at work, and another one at school, so it's just, yeah.
Now, do all those calendars match up with each other? Or
No. The one is for school, the other one's for work, the other one's for my business, the other one's for time with family, time with friends, church, things like that.
Would you find it helpful to maybe condense the 5 into one larger one, maybe, and so you wouldn't feel overwhelmed with the multitasking?
I feel like if I did that, it would just be like an overwhelming calendar, and then that would kind of make me freak out. So I think that's why I make it into different calendars, because if I saw all of that on one calendar, it wouldn't. Yeah.
So I've heard you say earlier that you're overwhelmed. You're overwhelmed with the current situation, and you're overwhelmed. Even the idea of having one calendar versus 5 calendars is overwhelming. So what do you think about affecting a change in that area? Like when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel stressed, what are ways that you found that are helpful to cope with those feelings, if any?
I think drinking coffee, but then that gets me hyped up. But I think just relaxing for a little bit in the morning is good for me, and also breathing exercises help, especially when anxiety feels like it's overtaking me completely. So I think that's some of the coping skills that I use.
Sure. And so coffee can speed up, like you said, make you feel more anxious, but it will also help you be more productive. Mm-hmm. You drink a lot of coffee every day. How many cups? Or
just 8.
8?
Yeah. That's it.
Just
I
8?
mean, yeah.
So it keeps you going.
Yeah.
How would you feel about possibly trying to, because weaning off maybe not 8, would that be, because coffee can produce more anxiety, or your body becomes dependent, and the adrenal glands that are supposed to produce naturally stop producing naturally, and the caffeine is keeping you going. So your body, it can sometimes produce more anxiety because your body's not working the way it's supposed to be working and functioning, because the caffeine is keeping your nerves on end, but your physical body isn't producing the adrenaline it needs to keep you calm. So this is something to think about. What do you think about that?
That's a scary thought. I've been doing this for a long time, and it started out with just 4 cups, and then it kind of just grew into 8 cups of coffee a day, and so I'm used to it. So kind of not having that or lowering that amount scares me and makes me a little bit stressed right now and anxious.
Would you consider it like some sort of an addiction to coffee or not?
No, I don't think I have. No.
But you would be nervous to stop drinking it.
Yeah, kind of.
It's interesting to think about, because sometimes when we become reliant on any sort of a substance to keep us going, and a fear of removing that thing from our life could be a hint of maybe, a possibility of looking at another avenue to keep you functioning without anxiety. Because that's what I'm hearing, is that you're anxious, and I know that coffee can be. I don't want to overly focus on that, but it's just a little seed I want to plant in for you to have some thought about. What's the biggest fear you have about grad school? Because you mentioned that you feel stressed out about that. Is it the workload? What's the fear attached to, or the anxiousness in regard to that?
Yeah, I think it's just everything. I think the pressure to succeed in grad school, and the pressure to just excel in everything that I do, it's a lot. And so me being in a grad school is a privilege that I've been given. Not many people can be there or go through that. So I just feel like an obligation to kind of be my best in every aspect of grad school.
So you want to be your best, and you don't want to let up a little bit in the middle of the busy schedule. You want to be functioning fully, because it is a privilege. It is an honor to be able to study at that level, which is natural. And do you feel that you give yourself grace, or you tend to be a little harder on yourself if you do fall short?
Yeah, I'm definitely hard on myself. It's just, I don't like to not necessarily fail, but feel like bad because I haven't excelled. It brings me down. So yeah, I am hard on myself, so that next time I won't do that, or I will excel in anything that I do. So yeah, I'm definitely hard on myself. And I'm very strict with myself.
Where do you think that comes from? Do you have like when you were being brought up or raised, were people hard on you? Were you permitted to be free by your parents? Do you have an idea why you're so hard on yourself?
I guess when I was younger, my parents were just very straightforward. You know what you gotta do, school, finish, get that done. Everything else comes second to that. And so I guess growing up with that, there was a lot of things I missed out on, and a lot of things I didn't get to do. And so that mindset, I guess, stayed with me even now. And I guess I am like the child, but the adult as well, I think.
It's interesting. Do you think that, up until this point, you're here, you're doing school, you're working, and you are, seeing that there's some stress and anxiety, but you are making it through, correct? To this point in time. So how are your grades at school right now?
My grades are good. I have all straight A's. So I have 1 A minus. So that's got to come up. But
sure. Well, that's the healthy side of it, is that you are, even though you might feel overwhelmed, that one of the helpful things would be to live in the moment more, as much as you can. Oh my gosh.